Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about one of the most underrated, misunderstood types out of them all, the ESFP. These guys are often stereotyped as performers or party animals. And even when these misleading stereotypes actually hold true in the individual instance, they are still so much more than that. This is a self-realization powerhouse that turns passion into excellence and courage into self-transformation. And in this video we're going to be peeling back the hood on this type and exploring the functions beneath the surface. And if you happen to be an ESFP, this video is going to give you powerful tools that can help you grow. And of course, as a cognitive coach myself, I'm always here in case you ever need more direct coaching tailored to you. So let us start with the basics. Every ESFP has two main cognitive pairings that shape the way they experience the world. These are SETE and NIFI. So let's break down each of these four cognitive elements and what they mean in this case. SE dominance means that ESFPs tend to be people who throw themselves into the situation with zest, vigour and passion. It's really not just about having fun or getting a dopamine rush. It's about forming a deep and meaningful relationship with the world that you are exposed to. They maximise both their impact on the world and the world's impact upon them, leaving a lasting so what factor behind life. Extroverted thinking agency, on the other hand, gives ESFPs a certain liberty to do things their own way, on their own terms. The rational element here being subservient to the perceptual element. TE here really aids the ESFP in shaping their own experiences. It's less about control and more about effectively interacting with the world in such a way that supports their own experiential agenda, enhances their own liberty, and maximises the experience. On the flip side, we have NIFI, their reflective pairing. NI here operates more as a kind of hidden internal compass, a kind of pair of invisible hands always pushing this type forward. My friend Rob, who was also a CPT practitioner, made a really cool blog post about the role of the oppositional element, which I highly recommend you check out, link in the description. NI here really guides the ESFP in their self-transformative, self-realizational journey. The FI authority, on the other hand, gives them authenticity. Oftentimes ESFPs cannot help but be themselves. They cannot help but follow their natural impulse towards the next meaningful experience that's going to shape them. Their spontaneous decisions, therefore, tend to always reflect and be in accordance with their core values as a person, and most especially the core values of the person they are aspiring to become. Oftentimes I'll type a client who thought they were an FI dominant as an FI authority type. The biggest difference here is that the FI authority types have their values acting upon them constantly. They're not in a state of reflection or ponderance, but in a more natural state of spontaneity in accordance with their values. The FI world here is more of a reflexive centre towards behaviour. But before we dive into this auxiliary network, we haven't even yet unpacked the primary dip functions of this type. These are very similar to those of the INTJ. Why? Because the ESFP exists in the same network cluster as that type. ESFP, ISFJ, INTJ, ENTP. These types all dip into each other within a network aggregate. First we have SITI. This is where the ESFP's oftentimes surprising thoroughness comes from. This type may seem impulsive in certain situations, but when their goals align with their values, they can become incredibly meticulous and precise. In fact, many of the ESFPs I end up personally typing end up with a really strong SITI convergence. Many ESFPs actually excel in academia and fast-paced thinking environments due to this hidden ability to focus in and perfect their work. And to develop this further, just focus on projects that excite you but also require precision. Let your natural curiosity and innate desire for growth guide you into developing thoroughness in the areas that matter most to you. Next is the NEFE pairing, the ENTP dip, which is where the whole performer stereotype comes from in the first place. NEFE helps the ESFP shape their social persona over time and amplify social contexts that they are exposed to. Think of it like the ability to light up a room and have a larger-than-life presence. But I will say this particular dip pairing comes out way more in the more convergent subtypes, the more extroverted ones. And to develop it further, just experiment with how you are expressing yourself in social situations. Think of yourself as a brand and keep testing your own persona brand against people you're exposed to. See what lights people up the most. Use this pairing to align your own authenticity with the collective vibe. And of course, we also have the NIFI rotation, the INTJ side of the ESFP. Most types have this as more of a stress response, or kind of, whoa, hold on a minute, let's think about this before diving in. Oftentimes it's more like putting the brakes on cognition. For example, an ESFP may have a natural impulse from within to go in a particular direction, but the INTJ rotation causes them to question whether or not this action would align with their chosen destiny. So naturally developing any form of self-restraint is going to develop this particular axial rotation. So with the basics out of the way for this type, here's where things get a bit more technical. The ESFP has an ST pairing and an NF pairing. That is, sensing is compared to thinking and intuition is paired to feeling. This means their logic tends to be a bit more precise and analytical, whereas their feeling tends to be more holistic and aggregate and impressionistic, oriented, for example, more around desires than core needs, and more naturally transformative towards something else. But more importantly, in terms of this video, it also means that sensing is not yet paired to feeling in this type, nor has thinking to intuition. Importantly, as with my INTJ hidden functions video, we're going with the same formula here. Intuition is already in oppositional position. Sensing is already in dominant position. The dominant axis is already occupied by these two elements. It's not going to take the same place again. NI is not going to be in dominant position again. SE is not going to be in dominant position or positional position again. And since we only have 16 different functions to choose from in the first place, this simple equation actually leaves us with the 4 primary hidden functions of this type. In essence, NF plus ST equals TN and FS. So we now know that the auxiliary functions on the next dimension of cognition are going to be a feeling sensing process and a thinking intuitive one. Because intuition and sensing are going to take the lead again, these are serving auxiliary roles to the rational element. So it's going to be thinking in the lead rather than intuition, and it's going to be feeling in the lead rather than sensing. The remaining functions still have their roles, of course, but that's more complex network theory stuff that we don't need to get into in this video, because in this video we're talking about actionable cognitive functions you can easily dip into to unlock your hidden potential. But I do talk more about the higher advanced levels of network theory in the expert level CPT membership on the website. Lots of content there for you to explore, and there's a free version as well I highly recommend you check out. So now we're going to go even deeper into this type's inner workings to unlock the true hidden functions. And if you're an ESFP yourself, you'll probably resonate with a lot of these functions. A lot of them are going to be natural to you, but it's possible you haven't developed them to their fullest potential. The first one is TENE, the ESTJ side of this type. ESFPs can actually surprise people by their ability to take leadership roles in their stride. I've seen many ESFPs thrive within organizational settings, for example. TENE allows the type to innovate, organize, while always staying true to their values. It's why many ESFPs suddenly start excelling when they take on responsibilities. So to develop it further, acquire more of a taste for responsibility, see how responsibility doesn't necessarily conflict with your own personal liberty in accordance to your own FI authority. Step into ecosystems where your FI values happen to align, and you can see yourself transforming in the direction that you want to. TENE particularly thrives when you take on tasks that involve helping other people, looking after the ecosystem around you. Next up is TINI, which explains why ESFPs so often quickly master new skill sets that they take on, much like the ISTP themselves. TINI here combines systemization with the ESFP's self-transformative potential, helping the ESFPs really develop expertise in competitive or skill-based fields. This is going to be a really natural pairing for the ESFP to develop, because all you have to do here is lean into the skills that excite you. Push past the initial learning curve and aim for the peaks of mastery. The next pairing, and one that may surprise some viewers, but one that I see almost perhaps the most frequently in the ESFPs I happen to type, is FISI, the dominant pairing of the INFP. And I've got to say this, so many ESFPs do end up mistyping, especially within the context of CPT, as INFPs, and for good reason. Contrary to stereotypes, which honestly I see manifesting so infrequently even compared to other type stereotypes, ESFPs tend to have a gentle and harmonious presence. FISI pairs the independence of the ESFP with a high degree of relational aptitude, and this often makes for a highly accommodating and even nurturing type in a lot of instances. ESFPs will often actively avoid hurting others, and even bend their own boundaries in order to maintain harmony. After all, the ability to bend their own boundaries actually allows the ESFP to break down a barrier between themselves and the experience and allow the experience to mold them. They couldn't do this if it was not for the INFP side. And to develop it further, practice self-awareness, self-regulation of your own emotions. Before acting on an impulse, consider also how the choice might affect other people in the world around you. Strive to be a harmonious presence. And to really maximize the SETE, let go of control and allow the experience to mold you as it sees fit. And finally, we have FESC, the type's altruistic synchronizer mode. The ENFJ side of the ESFP allows this type to really attune to others as well as the experience. It really maximizes this type's ability to attune to their environment, to synchronize, to get in the same wavelength. Because whereas SETE breaks down the barriers between the self and the world, FESC attunes to the person. Both these pairings complement each other because they allow the world to affect the self just as the self affects the world. And to develop it further, really just leverage the social aspects of your experience rather than neglecting them. See how much you are driven towards self-transformation, and see how your actions might align with the self-transformation of other people. And use your natural authenticity to speak from the heart in a raw and vulnerable manner. Tell people how much they mean to you. There you have it, the 4 hidden functions of the ESFP. FESE, TENE, TINI, and FISI. And these insights come straight from my coaching program, helping you unlock your true potential as your core type and expand far beyond it. And if you're an ESFP looking to refine these abilities and grow into your best self, I highly recommend checking out the coaching services offered on the website. I'll say this, ESFPs are one of my favourite types to work with. I love working with all the types, but these guys are especially open-minded, flexible, and just so keen to expand their own way of experiencing reality. It's a type I continue to strive towards in my own personal growth journey. So don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more personality insights, and let me know down in the comments which of these hidden functions resonated most with you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. For now, take care.